Welcome!
Welcome to the Omniverse of Nick and the finale to What If Jill Roberts Survived. Before we get into it, be sure to check out the Omniverse's homepage, where our channel mascot Omni will direct you to the Discord, both Google Docs, and everything else the Omniverse has to offer, along with smashing the like button, subscribing to the Omniverse of Nick, sharing the Omniverse around and turning on all Omniversal notifications, and commenting future requests and expectations in the comments section. With all that said, let's begin. We open up where we ended off last time. Dewey is alive and saved Mark, a pretty much on the ground Mindy defending Sydney's infants, and an almost completely dead Kirby. Mark cannot believe he thought Dewey was dead. He was stabbed ruthlessly and just maliciously, and by Amber. There's no way that he should have been able to survive. And tells Dewey, especially Gail, is going to be the most touched by this and thrown aback because she's the one who was hit hardest of it most of all, for obvious reasons. And Dewey says he knows, and he's got a lot of explaining to do. But saving Sydney and Gail and Mark and Sydney's kids comes first. So they're going to go do that right now. So they all head after. Meanwhile, the gun battle between Sydney, Gail, Jill, and Stu has reached a breaking point. Jill rushes at Gail and the two get into a fight, with Jill just ruthlessly trying to kill her. Stu gets Sydney on the ground and says, "Doesn't this bring back memories, Sid?" And then he just ruthlessly punches her over and over again in the face. So this time she can't even get away and reverse out of this hold because Stu has an answer for it. And Stu says, "You didn't think I was really going to let you get me the same way now, did you? This time, you die." And Sydney says, "Seems like you thought this out pretty well there, Stu, except for one thing." And Stu just smugly smirks and is like, "What's that?" "I'm Sydney effing Prescott." And then she kicks him in the unmentionables, dropping Stu down to the ground. And Sydney gets her gun and says, "Join Billy in hell, Stu," and shoots 4 times, and then kicks a TV. And this time with a different TV and gunshots already in him, it electrocutes him just like before with multiple gunshots in him. And then, just to make absolutely certain that Stu's dead once and for all, she shoots the TV multiple times, and it just bursts in fire and electricity, pretty much burning and just completely dismembering Stu's body, mainly his head. Jill, seeing this, knows she's alone, and Gail catches her off guard with her gun and says, "You're gonna pay for everything you've done." But Sydney says for Gail to stop, and Gail's like, "What? Stop?" And she doesn't listen, and she's just prepared to go for the kill. But Sydney looks at Jill and says, "Jill, are you sorry?" And Jill she can't believe what she is hearing. And she just smirks. "Sorry? Why on earth would I be sorry? You killed my partner. Likely my other one's dead too. But me, this is my revenge. And I'm still gonna get it. You think I'm sorry? The only one that should be sorry here, Sydney, is you. Sorry for leaving me alive. Sorry for making me live this shallow existence. And most of all, sorry for the fact that your child will have to grow up without you or anyone else you love. If I'm going down, you can bet I'm getting the fame and wish that I desire." And Sydney says, "What is it worth anymore, Jill? You have no one. And you don't have your mom. You don't have Charlie. You don't have Stu, Mickey. You don't have anything." And she says, "Has it really become worth it for this whole crusade to be famous and have fans? You were famous for roughly a few hours before we put you in your place for thinking you could kill us. And what did you do in return after surviving? You're right, I should have killed you properly. But your family? And I knew that this wasn't you. You were a misunderstood kid, and you're reaffirming that now, Jill. Has it become worth it? Or do you finally understand? You should have just talked to me. You should have just let your feelings become more present in a way that didn't make you a mass murderer. Because look at what's become of you. Is it worth it?" And Jill says, "Are you seriously asking me that question? Is it worth it? Of course it's worth it. Why do you think that I crawled out of that hospital room and planned for all these years to get my revenge just to stop here? No. Do you have any idea what it's like? I told you this once before, related to you, hearing about you, seeing how you're so special. And what was I? Just a kid who's supposed to have a normal life while someone in my family has these things happen to her and she's the freaking press girl of the world? No. My time deserved to be then, and it sure as hell deserves to be now." And Sydney says, "No. Your time was never just because you want it. And it's never been about me. It's about my mom. That's what got us to this point. It's about my mom leading into me. But do you really think that I wanted to have experiences like this? And just because I went through everything I went through, I never wanted the fame or fortune. I never wanted to kill anybody, not even you. And that's why I didn't put more effort into killing you. For Mickey, I can't make an excuse for him. For Stu, I can't make an excuse for him. But for you, there was an excuse. Especially considering I did kill Roman, my brother. It's because you were a kid. But what did you do with the chance to live? You took life from someone else. You took life from someone who wanted to make Billy Loomis's life and legacy turn into something better. Use that violence for good. You killed Sam. You killed Tara. You killed so many other people, Charlie or not. And now look at you. You're all alone. A girl without friends. A girl without fans. And a child without a purpose. Isn't that what you wanted to make my child? It didn't have to be like this, Jill. It never did. You made it like this. You took what I had going on in my life and turned it into some dark conspiracy that you were left out in a world that you were just a party to. You are my family, and you took my troubles, my pain, and the people pressing it on to me as fame and everything to destroy not only everybody else's lives, but almost cost you yours. Twice! This being the second time. So now do you understand? You never had to become a killer to get this kind of dream that you wanted. You just had to mention it to someone like me who would have grown to actually teach you the proper way to handle it. And instead, you turned into a monster. You turned into someone who killed not only your mother, but people who actually cared about you. Friends, boyfriends, even ones that betrayed you. You turned on all of them. You turned on Gail. You turned on me. And then you even had the gall to kidnap and threaten my children, my infant. You are not the same Jill Roberts that I met all the way back then. What you are is the ghost and demon of Jill Roberts. That makes me think. Do you remember what you said to me in this very spot before you put a knife in me and tried to go about your whole plan? You told me, I don't need friends. I need fans. And look at what's happened. You don't have friends. You don't have fans. And worst of all, you don't have family. But there's still a way out of this, Jill. I consider you family still. The world has moved on. I'm no longer worried about ghost faces because it's part of my life. That's why I'm giving you a chance right now. Do the right thing. See, what you have done for all these years has just corrupted you. That it's wrong. You've become wrong. And throughout all my life, all the experiences I went through, all the personal stuff, all the people I lost, all the close people I lost, ever since my own mother died because of Billy Loomis and Stu, I never changed. I have only ever done what it's taken to defend the people left that I love and to keep going to prove to myself that I'm strong. But you, the only thing that's kept you going is what every single killer has ever wanted: revenge. And it's never worth it, Jill. Just ask anybody. Ask Stu, Mickey, Billy, Richie, Amber, Charlie, Roman, Mrs. Loomis. All of them wanted revenge against me or my family for something, thinking that I did something wrong. Maybe sometimes it was my fault. Maybe this is all circled to me in this very moment because of me. But I know it's not the root cause, and it doesn't matter what the root cause is. And Jill, you've just gotta let go of that stuff from the past because it just doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is what you choose to be now. Who you choose to be now. What you've chosen for all of these years is to be someone who wants to be loved, to be known, to be famous. Your dream is cast away for the second time, and it's not my fault. It's not anybody else's fault but yours. You have to understand that and know that this dream, this facade you've been chasing for so long, it's not worth it. The only thing that's worth it is who you choose to be now. And the only way that you can rightfully save what is left of having family who loves you and is willing to help you is if you stop what you're doing, see what you have done all this time is wrong, and redeem yourself the way I never gave any other Ghostface an opportunity to. Because you're family. Roman, I could have tried it with him, but it just didn't work. But with you, it will work, and I really think that it can. But the only way it works is if you let me help you. And Jill is processing all of this information, and then she just breaks down crying. And this is definitely a new side of Jill that no one has ever seen before. And Gale even lowers her gun because not even she would have expected this from Jill. But throughout all of that, Sydney and Gale both realize that she is just a kid. So Jill hands over her knife and gun, and she, through tears, sorrow, and regret, says that I'm sorry. And her and Sydney embrace in a hug. Gale still is thinking something's up here and wants to shoot because of what she said about Dewey and just in general, but Sydney says there's no longer a need for that. She looks at Gale for a second, and she says, I didn't used to like you at first, Gale, but I forgave you. We trust each other. You came here with me because you said that our friendship has evolved into something that no part of our first encounter would have ever expected to travail through. So Jill deserves a second chance. And she looks to Jill and says, you understand, don't you? And Jill says, yeah, I understand. And then Sydney and Gale get a phone call from Mark and saying that we're here. And Gale looks in utter, complete horror and surprise and sadness. And she and Sydney see that Mark, Mindy, and the infant are here, and Kirby is being tended to, but Dewey is alive. And Gale cannot believe it. And Dewey says, it's not the first time I survived a near-death encounter, Gale. Surprised that it wasn't my last. And I'm glad to see that you're okay still. I heard that you almost bit the dust too. I guess we both have joined that list full-time, haven't we? And Gale is just so full of tears and joy right now. They're about to go in to embrace, but then something happens that shifts the entire mood around forever. Gale is stabbed straight in the neck, straight through the neck. And she says, Dewey, I love you, before she dies. Jill has the knife and gun back. And she says, I told you I'm getting my dream, even if I have to kill all of you to do it. But Sydney and Dewey just unrelentlessly shoot down Jill in her head, face, arms, heart, chest, legs, every single part of her body, until not only is all their ammunition gone, but anything that looked like Jill is completely and utterly, irrevocably erased. So Jill is dead for real this time. So after this, Dewey, having come back, seeing his wife, and now her dying like this, now it's like an Uno reverse card. And now they have to process the deaths of Gale, Chad, Sam, Tara, hopefully not Kirby, and go on with the rest of their lives. Sydney and Mark are glad to have their kids still alive, and they try to go back to their normal lives. It's far different now without Gale and without Sam, Tara, and a lot of others. But with Dewey back, it's at least eased around the same if not a new kind of pain and moving forward type of deal. Sydney, she's sad to realize there could have been a future with her, Roman, and Jill. Sad to say, Jill made it so that will never happen, as did Roman. She's glad that she tried in the end. As for Dewey, a new kind of look embraces him. He came back after going on this life-changing journey, meeting Gale, surviving backstab after backstab after backstab, to learn about Jill, Stu, and Mickey surviving, and to see his own wife die before his eyes. Just like Gale thought that he died right before her eyes multiple times, especially against Amber and Richie, thinking that that was the last time he would ever see the light of day. Now that light has become an illuminating darkness, as Gale's death has tone shifted the entire mood and complexity of Dewey Riley's character. And now, a new darkness erupts his heart. And that darkness is going to shape itself very, very soon. So we've come to the end. Now I know. Scream 7 isn't out yet. So a lot of this, pretty much all of this, was fan-made. But to be fair, I did give out a good warning. And I guarantee you that in regards to Scream 7, which is going to be a masterpiece to Sidney Prescott's story, at least from what we know, there's Stu Macher, there's a Roman cameo expected, there's Dewey coming back, and so much is being put into this being a Sidney story, even if there's no Mark Kincaid or anything like that. But I bet there's a few of you that are like, why did Gale have to die? How is Dewey alive, even though he's reported to come back for Scream 7? And what does the ending mean? Well, I'll answer all those questions for you. It's usually what these endings are about, you know? So, overall, my goal for this wasn't to, make it too apart from Scream 7's overall idea. Because from what we know, both the daughters are confirmed, so I put them in. Story about Sydney, put her in. But that's not the name of this video. This wasn't me making my own fan-made Scream 7, and that was just it, This was all about Jill. And the best way to include her, because I've already done it in 5 and 6, so the best way to include her was integrating her into Scream 7. But since it's not out yet, I had to improvise so you guys didn't have to wait. So, overall, the story was not just about Jill, it was also making a Scream 7. So pretty much it was about combining the two. Now you guys are probably wondering also, yes, Stu is confirmed, but why throw Mickey in there? Don't you have a video about him and already did a video about Stu? So couldn't you have just done Jill and figured out a way for her to do it by herself and just made the kids more of an influence in the story? Since you only had him for one scene? Well, I could have done that, but I wanted to show a dynamic in character for Jill that made her rely on others more. Even at the end, she started to revert, because that's the kid in her that was still showing. But to show desperativity, in a way, and show a different level of a dynamic in Jill Roberts, I decided to go about it a different route. So, bringing Stu back and putting him into the integrated Scream 7, which is already confirmed, was a great step in that. And since I have never really done anything major with Mickey yet on this channel, besides making, Scream 2's plot happen later, which really doesn't matter, I decided to heck with it, and I'm going to go ahead and have Mickey survive. Now, I did have him survive once with Roman, but that didn't really result in much, and wasn't as huge a plot. Now, you guys are probably like, "Whoa, this story didn't really have a huge plot with Mickey either, so it's like the same thing." Yeah, you're kind of right. But overall, it was either I do Jill and Stu and just make it a lame twist, or I double down on it. Because that brings us to the next plot point. Dewey. Because if you guys remember, Dewey's confirmed, and it was revealed to be a surprise, and not supposed to be revealed. So that goes to show one of two things. Like Roman, Stu, and Dewey. With Roman, Stu, and Dewey all integrated into Scream 7. They're all for resurrections? Stu most definitely. Or flashbacks. So, with that kept in mind, and the fact that Stu's basically a confirmation, and Roman's basically a flashback, Dewey was also revealed as a surprise, so had creative leeway to resurrect him. I mean, why not? And overall, the excuse that he has dealt with enough backstabbings, literally, and a way to actually write in his comeback was perfect enough to set up Mickey as the third Ghostface, and him coming to save the day. And then it brings us to the last thing. The possibility of Jill Roberts turning good. Now, I could have made that happen. But I feel like since I have other future stories planned for Jill, that is something we need to touch upon in the future. These survival stories are supposed to be different from characters turning good. Now, I bet you guys are probably thinking, well, you made the Cell Jr. turn good, and Deborah turn good, and the Cell Jr. survive. Why is that? Because just because a title says something does not mean that the direct outcome is as a result of the title. It just means people get the basic gist of what is going to happen. That is how you write a freaking genius masterpiece of a material, especially with what ifs. So, while yes, 9 times out of 10, you don't want to make your people in the stories turn good in a survival story, even if that character's directed in that way, if you make him survive, it doesn't mean that it still can't happen. But with Jill, her character was so complex and so deranged and so childish that leading her on this dark route from 4 to 7, it just didn't make sense for the way that the story was directed for me to turn her good. It just made more sense for her to turn traitor and kill at the first opportunity. And who better to kill off than the one that a lot of people are thinking that's gonna die in Scream 7, and that was eerily close in 6, Gale Weathers. Now, you guys are probably also like, well, Dewey and Gale reunited, and, Dewey died. You pretty much just reverse that in this what if. Yeah, I kinda did, but it was honestly the best way to write in Dewey's resurrection and Jill's betrayal. Sometimes if the story calls for a 6 setup, I just abide by the rules. But overall, before I close, there is one thing left we need to discuss about this tale. Something right at the end. A long time ago, I made a What If Ed Survived? And I asked you guys, do you want a remake of the story? Or do you want a part 2? Or do you want it left alone? A lot of you were mixed about it, but there is a remake coming. Not a part 2, but a remake. So, it's actually going to touch upon a part 2 and a full revitalization of the subject. So, I will ask you guys a similar question for this one. Do you want me to make a fan-made What If Scream 8 about Dewey becoming Ghostface and do that project? Or do you think he would either, unfortunately, die alone or commit suicide, or just leave the story as it is? Whichever one of those 3 decisions is up to you. And if enough of you vote in the comments section that you want a fan-made Scream 8 with Dewey as Ghostface, definitely sub, hit the like button, smash that freaking like button, and comment down below and anywhere else on the Omniverse, because it's definitely something that I am willing to do. And if enough people comment it, you could consider it a what if for the future, because there's definitely room for a Scream 8. Even though Scream 7 isn't even out in theaters yet, I'm already thinking of making a Scream 8, which I've never done with a subject like this before, which proves how influential Scream is, and that 7 is revitalizing Scream more than ever before. So it's up to you guys. Do you think that I should make a Scream 8 with Dewey? Make it so that Dewey unfortunately dies by his own methods? Or do I leave it alone? So it's basically like the Ed Surviving, which is getting a remake. More or less on my choice, but this time I'm giving you guys the choice. This might be my Omniverse, but you're a party to it. So whatever you guys feel, and if you truly like the story, and if you want to see a future tale continuing this kind of plot, subscribe to the Omniverse, smash that like button, and comment down below. Because just like this story, we're still expanding the ongoing Omniverse of Nick.
Now get out!
What?
Get out! Everybody get out!